Okay, so I think we are live. So let's just yeah. Hey everyone. So I think just type anything on the chat you have, so we will see you guys joined.
Perfect.
You can hear us, you can see us. Just testing our connection.
Can we see how many people are in the chat so far?
Yeah, I think Sophia is able to see this. Yeah, so we have 8 people so far. Yeah, so guys, just please type anything on the chat, so we will be sure that you can see us, can hear us well, whatever. Yeah, and there is also stream on the YouTube happening, so we have some watchers on the YouTube as well. Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay, so I think let's then start. So I propose, James, just maybe a quick introduction from me about
Absolutely.
Katara.
Roman, I'm so happy to be here. I know we recently got a case study out together. We've been working together with Katara and Ralabs for a while. I'm James Hotson. I'm one of the co-founders of KataraAI, and we build agentic workflows for businesses. So, we can help you automate your business process, help you automate really important tasks. We generally do, a little bit of a shadow period and a quick audit to figure out where we can make the most impact. A lot of the time that ends up being in the customer support or sales or marketing or developer side. And yeah, really excited to be here. Previously, I've been an executive at 2 AI companies that have both been acquired. And so I have experience in AI marketing tech. We sold that company to Constant Contact, and then AI customer support chatbots. Sold that company to Gladly, which is like a help desk similar to Zendesk. So really excited to be here, been in the space since 2012, and I'm looking forward to a great conversation with you.
Well, great. Thank you, James. And I'm Roman. I'm one of the founders of Ralabs. So we provide software development, consulting services, whatever. And I was a software engineer before. So I spent about 9-10 years working on different startups and companies. And I had my own startups as well. But last 8 years, my full primary focus is with Ralabs, management things, and everything relates to the people and interesting projects like Katara.
Yeah.
So we have, by the way, we have a first people who leave a comment. And they told that they can hear and see us perfectly. So
Amazing.
This is a good start. Yeah. So okay, since we are talking about AI, before we all jump to Katara, right? I think you have lots of things to share with people about Katara. About some challenges, benefits you had building AI startup. Maybe typical question right now about AI tools. Which are your preferences about AI tools? Like ChatGPT.
Yeah. And I think the nice thing about Katara is that we're not just a wrapper on top of OpenAI, like a lot of the AI tools in the space right now. And so we as a company are very agnostic in terms of what tools and softwares we use. So me personally, I'm on the go-to-market side as the go-to-market co-founder. And so I'm using sales tools. I'm using ChatGPT to help me, do the same work that I've always been doing, do it faster. So I oscillate between daily use of OpenAI, Gronk. I've been using Cursor a little bit to do things like spin up a landing page. And then we use a handful of other AI automation marketing tools. And the goal there is just to write better copy. I've been loving actually this SEO tool called Rank AI. And they help generate really great copy based off of trending keywords. I found another great tool called Prompt Watch, which is like the LLMs.txt. They can help you think of Google Analytics, but for prompts. So they can show you, how much you're how much is Katara showing up in when people are prompting on Gemini or on OpenAI. And so I think that's interesting. Still, Google search is like massively, massively bigger than prompt search at the moment. But I think that's gonna eventually they'll go like this, right?
Sure.
So yeah, a handful of different tools every single day, and then I'm happy to talk a little bit more detail of the platform as well if we want to get that detailed.
Have you seen the recent Google conference, Google Marketing Live 2025? By any chance?
I have, and in fact, I spent a lot of the day last week playing around with their Veo 3 and their Google Flow, their new video content. I mean that and Higgs, like for marketing and purposes, like there's almost no reason to have a static image anymore. You can create these amazing images and these amazing videos with really, really kind of simple prompts. So I'm excited to get better at those or find people that are really good at getting those done and building those for me.
Why I asked about the Google Marketing Conference, I was watching some of the parts of the conference, and they released so many features for the marketing people, like from the Google Ads, from the targeting platforms they have, etc. things. So they have so many AI features, so many, like as you mentioned, Veo, like under the Gemini, they released so many great features. So this is amazing. And you mentioned Cursor. On the weekend, I'm using personally Windsurf. I'm more Windsurf rather than Cursor. I know that lots of people they're using Cursor. And on the weekend, I finally tried such tool. It's called Claude Code.
Yep.
It's from Anthropic company. They have a couple models, right? And they have a tool. It's called Claude Code. So basically, what you do, you have a terminal, you have a window, and you do a coding actually without any coding. So you do everything through the prompts. And to be honest, as engineer, I was always skeptical about the quality of the code the AI is generated, right? You probably heard about this jokes, right?
Yep.
The AI generated some project during the weekend, and after you need to spend like 3 months just to fix everything, or to make something working, right? But Claude Code, at least for my case, the quality was so perfect. They use like the best practices, the classes on the JavaScript, whatever. So that was just extreme quality. So if you will have a chance, I'm highly recommended to try, you and everyone, the Claude Code as well.
And so what, like for you, what are some of the potential pitfalls? You know, you're running an AI agency, you're running, you know, Ralabs that's like navigating some of these challenges during these times. What are some of the pitfalls of Windsurf or Claude Code? Or I've been really excited to try Codex to see how that goes. How are you thinking about that? Yeah, what are the pitfalls you see?
Oh, this is a good question. So maybe as far more we have AI nowadays, the AI is becoming more and more smarter. AI is more kind of self-educating tool, right? So as far more we have AI, it's becoming just more and more smarter. There is a annual report from Google. It's called Dora metrics. So every year, Google is trying to find how to increase and improve the productivity level, productivity quality, productivity, whatever percentage of the engineers. Like what impacts on the productivity this year. In the last 2024, they focused the full report on the AI, and they found the sections where AI benefits more. This is something like documentation, testing, side things. So that's what we are trying to do. But the pitfalls, I think, the current bottleneck and the big problem with AI is that AI doesn't know your whole system. They know only the part of the system. For example, the code base. You mentioned about Cursor. So Cursor know about the code base, but they don't know anything about your Amazon infrastructure, CI/CD, Confluence, let's say Jira, whatever. I think it will be solved on the next year or years, but
Yep.
currently we have implementation. Another one, you still need to have some technical, quite good background to be able to produce some good products. So you can build something simple, um, but to build something, bigger, you need to have definitely some of the technical background.
Yep.
So
I think about that a lot with like the context, right? You mentioned they don't have visibility into Amazon or
Yep.
Confluence or your other parts of your business. I think about a lot. Basically, we need to replicate how humans think, right? We have short-term memory, and so you and I can think about, what do we want to talk about on our podcast? But we also have long-term memory, and that has all the context for the last year of everything going on in our labs with all your clients and all your employees and everything. And it's like you need both. Because to me, it's memory, right? It's memory for these LLMs, and how do you set that up correctly? And I think that's something we're starting to tackle really well at Katara with the way we're setting up these knowledge bases, and we're able to do corpus, and we're able to introduce multi-rag, and so we're getting there. But it's like, especially if you've played around with Cursor, if you load too much context in there, it doesn't know what to do, and if you load not enough, it doesn't know what to do either. And so it's like you got to find that right balance of short-term and long-term kind of memory and knowledge base and all that kind of. How do you feed that data to get the result you want?
That's true. Yeah. Let's maybe talk briefly more about Katara, because just to introduce people more. I saw that you recently been working with the Discord, and I know that you recently also released on the Product Hunt. So maybe you can share something about how it works.
I'm excited now that we have we're still in technically a closed beta where you need an access code to check out our platform, and you can't just go sign up on the Katara website. But if anyone's listening and they want access, shoot me a message, James at KataraAI, and I will give you an access code, so you can check out the platform. But we launched Discord, and so one of the things that I think what AI is very good at is having one-to-one personalized conversations at scale, right? A lot of these companies have Discord servers, they have a community, they have thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of members in those communities. They're all asking questions. Each of those users is at different points in their journey. Some are brand new, some have been there for a long time. And so how do you service them? Like every single company that has a Discord has this problem. Every community manager in Discord has this problem where it's just like there's so many conversations, you can't read them all, you can't respond to them all. And so I think we came up with a really elegant solution, which is creating this really great knowledge base where there's tribal knowledge of let's listen to the conversations going on in Discord and your other channels. There's knowledge of what's the code base of the project or the company you actually look like. What's the tech documentation say? What's the other marketing and sales materials say about the company? Let's put that all in one place. And then when people have questions, let's answer those questions quickly. And so I'm like super excited about this because before, when we were doing customer support and we built the model, we trained this model, we took close to 100,000 rows of data. We looked at what were the common questions. We made answers to those, and then we looked at the similarity, and we could answer maybe 40 or 50% of those questions, right? But if it got too far out, the LLMs weren't good enough to expand and answer that knowledge. And so now with what we're doing with Katara, with vector databases and graph databases and setting up knowledge bases and using the latest models, we can get close to 85, 90% responses, or we can get close to answering 85 to 90% of the questions that come in there. And we're citing our sources. We have a super high confidence level of those answers, so there's not a lot of hallucinations, and it's really exciting. So one of our records, which I'm really proud about, is in Discord we answered 3,800 messages in one single day for one server. And so that's showing the power of that at scale. if you have a community management background and you're a community manager or DevRel, you know, like you can really answer about 100 questions in a day and then you're exhausted. And so like Katara is augmenting, we're making that DevRel like a superhuman, and they can do 40, 50x what they could do with just themselves. And so it's pretty amazing. Our bot in there, we're getting very close. We're joking with a couple of our clients where it's like, we just want to clone the best community manager, the person who's always answering the answers. And that's what we're doing. We're introducing the concept of an expert. And so you can have an expert role, and we'll add higher priority to that user. So we'll know how to, you know, answer it in the tone and the pace and the way that that person would answer. So it maintains kind of that brand. And also we can learn if there's something we don't answer, but they do, we can learn that. And so then the next time, like my goal for all these companies is their community manager DevRel only needs to answer something once, and then we can go through and learn. And then every future time that same question comes up, Katara can jump in and be that helpful, you know, agent that's a great companion in their Discord. So that's Discord. And to me, that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's like one channel, and that's just one use case of how we're saving tons of hours and time and energy for these companies we're working with.
Yeah, this is a great approach. I think lots of companies who are using Discord need that, of course.
Yeah.
I think that would be interesting for people, and people usually they ask about some tools and technology, but they might don't realize what are the real challenges when you're building and scaling AI-powered product like Katara. Maybe you can share something about that when scaling.
Amazing question, because that's what I kind of wanted to talk about, because anyone listening can spin up a chat bot, right? Anyone can put a web widget or a chat bot in their Discord or their, you know, website or Slack or Telegram or, you know, whatever they're servicing people on. It's the nuance, it's the responses. The responses are really challenging. And the reason why they're challenging is it's hard to understand the intent behind the question. And it's also hard to get the right answer given that timing and all the other context of that user. And so it really becomes a data problem and a data challenge. And so we've spent a lot of time and energy building systems that enrich data, that classify data, that get it in the right, like the right formats for us to understand. And then we've also built tools to generate new data. And so you talked a little bit about generating documentation earlier. That's one of the ways we start with our clients is we look at the existing docs, because that document set, that knowledge base is food for all the responses that we're going to give. And so if it's not great documentation, we're not going to give amazing responses. So step one is like updating your docs, making sure that they're organized, making sure that we like to apply a framework called Diataxis to all the documentations that we work with. So it's standardized now. And then we're starting to split up the docs. So you're trying to do too much with this one. This one's a how-to guide. And so it gets better at responding and getting, you know, what people need. So that's like phase one. And then phase two, we'll do like a little bit of a gap analysis to say, hey, your customers are getting stuck here, or they're asking about this, and you don't have, you know, an answer to that. So how about we generate some new content? I'm working through that with a couple of clients right now. Like, what do they need to generate to make sure that they can get those answers out there? Because I'm sure they've answered it individually. They just haven't made it like a repeatable document that they can continue to share. So
some hidden spots, right? Some hidden spots, documentation.
Back to your like, you know, challenges with AIs. We initially looked at, you know, the frameworks like CrewAI and LangChain, right? And we really quickly ran into some roadblocks with those frameworks because they just couldn't do what we needed to do. And so we actually home rolled our own framework because we can now process the volume of data that we need to process. We don't run into the same roadblocks or the same limitations that we were. Not to say that those frameworks are bad. I think they're great for the industry. But when you're trying to do, you know, pretty sophisticated things that are on the leading edge, sometimes you need to build it from scratch so you can get the results that you need, which it has been like great for our customers. It's been a pain for us because it's taken us a lot more time to get the results that we're after. But it's been like, it delivers such better results for our clients.
Yeah, well, this feature about hidden spots, like when the agent or bot just telling the business, "Hey, it seems like you're missing this part on your documentation." Like people, they constantly speaking about this, they looking for this information, but it seems um, like you don't have enough of the answers.
Yeah.
Like this piece of the documentation is not like proportion to the amount of communication you have on Slack or Discord.
Right.
This is kind of a very interesting insight for the business, maybe for community, right?
Yep. I think also it's helpful in like helping you prioritize your own time, right? If you're doing operations and you're trying to figure out where does the team need to spend our time, what's most important. And we just went through this with a client that had 300 documents to read and edit and put out 300 great documents. That takes maybe 6 months to do at a really nice way. Well, let's do the Pareto, 80-20 rule. What are the top docs that get all the views, that need all the attention, that we can make the biggest impact with the least amount of effort in the quickest way? And so like, here's how you should focus. Here's what your customers are talking about. Here's the documents that we think need the most improvement right away. Maybe the other 250 you can, leave for right this second, and we can get to them after the, phase 2. It's like, that's what we're trying to implement. And then over time, right, the AI should automatically start to generate better and better documentation and constantly improve it with that kind of human in a loop type workflow.
That's, by the way, what I was thinking to ask about human in the loop. This is typical question from the people, especially people who are not enough adopted AI on the daily life. They maximum maybe using ChatGPT, but are not using deeply. So they might be, some of the people, they might be worried about jobs, whatever things, so, this stuff. So yeah, I'm curious, how do you guys see, how the Katara see, this mix, this balance between human in the loop and agents, because that's obviously that like agent seems like wouldn't fully replace, right? You should still to have somebody who will support this, at least validate this.
We rarely talk about it as like, oh, the AI is going to take your jobs. Like, I don't think that's the case. I think if you really have the conversation with someone and you're like, hey, do you actually like writing the same answer in Discord 200 times a day? It's a no. They don't like doing the tedious, repetitive things. And so we're actually augmenting, and we're giving you superpowers, and we're helping you do your job better by giving you access to AI, and you did on work that you really didn't enjoy in the first place. And so I think that's one conversation to have on, like, don't worry, this is not replacing your job. Your job is, but you now have to have different skills, and you have to elevate, and your time is focused in different ways. So that's one. The second piece on human in the loop that I think is really interesting is, like, as humans, we love control, and we're always afraid of, like, what is this robot going to do? And especially with AI, a lot of that is hard to visualize because it's going on in the background. And even like if it's running in a terminal, it's sometimes tough to understand. And so the human in the loop piece is not the most efficient way to get the document out, but it ends up being the best way because it makes people feel comfortable, right? It's like if you're in a self-driving car for the first time, you feel so much comfort knowing that you can turn it off at any time by hitting the brake or, disengaging the self-driving, or you can take over control. And so, we have a great interface where it's like, here's the new doc that we generated. Here's the old doc. You can check out the diff, one click approve if you like it, or if you want to edit it. And so, I think the adoption curve, as people get more comfortable using Katara and they get more comfortable with using the docs, like, they let the AI run more and more and they trust it more and more. But in the beginning, it's really hands-on. And so you need that onboarding experience to be very hand-holding, where they feel in control and they feel to get comfortable. And then once it's giving the results that they like, they let it rip and they don't need to check it again, and they almost forget about it. And they just let that process run in the background 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Everyone needs to somehow adopt AI, and we need to manage agents. People will manage agents.
Yeah.
Be replaced, of course. And I know, I think another question just come to my mind about the security. There is sort of kind of jailbreaks AI. Maybe you heard like just a couple other weeks, some of the like engineering folks, they get the system prompt from the chat GPT, from the Claude, whatever. So I know that in Katara you do some sort of protections, and you mostly you kind of manipulate the internal information, so it's not going to expose somewhere externally. But what do you think about this part? When AI, like companies, they adopt AI. So, for example, our company, we like for our needs, we developing some sort of FAQ bot, which employees can ask some questions. So this is basically what Qatar is doing, but we are more Slack guys, So we have a Slack, we have a set of information mostly on the Google Drive and our systems, HR systems. And there's typical questions from the employees like, how many vacations I have, when in the next public holiday, and whom joined recently, who are the next birthday. So just typical questions. And there is also always questions about data security, right? To give the proper access for AI agent to not expose something sensitive to other people. Do you have some thoughts about overall this topic, AI security in the world?
It's a bit of a moving target as well, because it shifted for me personally quite a bit recently. I think that we've taken some major steps to make sure that your data is extremely secure. And I think the approach that I look at is, if you are uploading a contract or an email or a PDF or a presentation into ChatGPT, ChatGPT now has that data. And every time we upload data to ChatGPT, it is more enterprise value for OpenAI, more data for OpenAI. And that's not what businesses want. And there's a reason why, ChatGPT came out in 2022. And I think within the last month, maybe, Amazon finally allowed their employees to use their own LLM internally. And I forget the name, but it's just now available for Amazon employees to have a ChatGPT-like experience for their own private LLM. It's because that data privacy is really important. They don't want things going to outside of their company that don't need to. And so I'll tell you how we're solving it today for some clients. We will anonymize data. We'll set up vectorized databases and index them. We'll do a local instance of a particular model. And when you run a model locally and you have it on a local machine, the responses sometimes take longer. Sometimes the quality of the response is a little bit lower, but that's getting actually so much better. And the latency is actually getting so much better. But I think it's especially important for us to take those extra steps to be secure. And so that's one thing that we're, showing people, one, how to do it, right? You can use something like Olama, you can use something like Hugging Faces if you want to do this on your own. But we're actually helping people have extremely secure data. And so one thing I love about Katara is, like, you can create a RAG that is completely secure as easy as dropping a link, right? You can drop a link to your website or private domain, and we can take that data and we can ingest it, and it can be completely secure. So that, it comes down to data security, and I think it also comes down to permissioning, right? If you have your cap table in Google Drive, with all the equity for all your employees, you don't want that accidentally leaking into Slack. And so creating multiple, that's why I'm excited about multi-rag, multiple databases, and then setting the permission levels for each of those databases appropriately becomes really important. so that your entire team can have the company holiday calendar, but your executive team can have things like salaries or whatever it might be, healthcare plans, those kinds of things like that. You don't want the entire company having access to. So security is super important. It always has been. It will, in my opinion, it's the thing that every single business cares the most about. And so without that, it's like one of our number one priorities, because without it, you just like, you're not going to get the data, and without the data, none of this AI stuff has any value.
Yeah, and I think recently, I think that was Google, but I might be wrong. They announced, maybe Google, maybe ChatGPT. So they announced that, so they have an interesting checkbox, and if you check in, then you get a good discount for the like on your subscription, but you allow to use your data for training. So by default, you are opted out. So your data, your chats, whatever PDFs you upload on the ChatGPT or Google are not using for like training, making more mature, more smart models. But if you checked in, you got some discount. So, and that's I thought that's probably fair, because you exchange your data, right? Right now, data is the money. So you exchange your data, your some sort of knowledge, to the discount for the company. So
Yeah, I mean,
makes sense.
And take the other extreme of that. I think yesterday Salesforce announced an $8 billion acquisition for just data. Like literally, they just bought $8 billion of data. And so it is super important. And we moved into the, before, maybe the last 10 years, it was like you pay with your wallet or you pay with your eyes and you see ads. Now you can also pay with your data. So, I'm sure there's some people maybe like myself who might be willing to pay the premium and keep their data a little bit more secure and a little bit more private.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Interesting thought you said, that paying your eyes, all of the products, they are looking to get like people, like time, attraction. So yeah. So last question about Katara, okay, and after I will jump to some high level two questions I have. So you have a Discord. I briefly mentioned about Slack. Lots of companies using Slack, but definitely Discord. This is something more popular on the like companies who deal with communities. Slack is not so popular. For example, gaming. I know in the gaming industry, huge of companies, they use only Discord.
Yep.
This is the number one tool, communication tool. How does Katara play just to stay ahead on this AI agent space, which is changing so fast? Maybe you can share some great features you have on your backlog, or
I think we stay extremely disciplined and just obsessed with business results. If you can stay with meaningful business results for these companies, we had a company deploy, it was a 45 agent agentic workflow. So they stitched 45 agents together. The majority of them were different data loaders from different places, but you got 45 agents working together, delivering value. Okay, what else can we do? And I kind of think about it as there's a few different levels to using AI, and level 0 being, hey, I'm using ChatGPT to proofread an email before I send it. Okay, and I'm saving myself a couple hours a week. That's like entry. Level 1 is now starting to automate things and having 1 or 2 agents working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, doing manual tasks. And then, now we're starting to help Sherpa these customers into that second and third level where AI is a meaningful strategy. It's a big part of their business. They really rely on it daily for results, and they have these agentic workflows and these processes, and we've taken their SOPs to now made them into a bunch of different Python scripts, and they're a bunch of different agents running around doing tasks every day. I mean, that's how Katara stays on leading edge, is just being super focused on business results. And I think the obvious one is, where are your customers talking a lot, and where can we solve a really tedious, repetitive platform, question? And so our beachhead strategy was to go into Discord. I'm more excited about Slack and email personally, because I think every company has these internal and I'm more excited personally about the internal side of it, because if you get the communication quickly, especially with people with remote teams, right? Like you have a team, I think you're in Ukraine, right? So you have different team members across the world, and you have different time zones. I had an email from a guy last night in Singapore, and it's like, I can't get to it till I wake up. If I have an agent that knows the data and you can answer them right away, you're just answering people in that golden window when they're thinking about your thing. And you can just unblock people a lot faster. And I think we're going to see businesses able to move a lot faster because they get the right answer immediately to those things. And so internal, I'm just so excited about what we're building.
Yeah, I was thinking that speed is already so fast, and where is more faster? You're telling that businesses will move faster, so isn't the end? So there is still, it's possible to do more and more faster.
Yeah,
So,
but I don't know, but how do you feel when someone on your team, sends you a Slack message at 9 p.m. and then you wake up at 6 and you see the message, you're like, oh man, I wish I could have got to him.
Yeah.
At,
Well,
8 or 9 p.m. And maybe it's the reverse for you.
no. Well, personally, I'm working like mostly 24/7. So, so
Right.
I don't have this problem, but I'm an exception. So
Okay.
people should not do this. But yeah, of course, that's a problem, especially for the clients. So let's say we have a clients in Bay Area, in San Francisco. So there is a big gap, or in Canada. So there is a big gap between Europe, Ukraine, and these areas. So yeah, I hope that AI somehow can you can somehow delegate at least part of your decisions, part of your thoughts to the agents, so they can unblock.
Yep.
Yeah. By the way, I sent to the chat. I found an article. I haven't heard about this definition of the 5 levels of the AI usage, but that's very interesting letter. And I just remind that in Dora metrics, which I recently mentioned from the Google. So in last year, in 2024, so they come up with a decision that AI, they are more efficient when you adopt them on the organizational level. They are not so much efficient when you have this on the individual level. Let's say as person, I'm starting using ChatGPT. So my productivity, so they somehow measured, they have some sort of startups, products, and they measured over them, and there is like productivity increase, like not so high as we wish to be. But the organizational level, when we start using AI, for example, Katara, this is a good example. So you have an organization, and the Katara is impacting the process of the company, not specific like job roles or the people. It's more impacting on the how do you communicate with your community, how fast, whatever things. So that gives, at least right now, on this level of maturity of the AI, it seems like on the organizational level, using AI gives the maximum results for the businesses.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I think what we'll see is, and that's why I like to do, we like to shadow businesses, right? Everyone comes to us and they say, how do I use AI? How should we be using agentic workflows? What's it all about? And we like to shadow them and say, hey, what are you doing today? Okay, what's your process for this? What are all the steps? Okay, you designed it because we needed humans to do those things. With AI, you might need humans to do different things. So maybe the process like this works. And so we're doing, an agentic workflow that will mimic the exact steps that a human might take as as version 1, as the proof of concept. And then the second version, we might rewrite the process where you mentioned earlier, like people are going to manage AIs. It's like the AIs are actually doing it in their own way that's better or more or efficient for them, right? Like I kind of go back to that. If you saw the video of Gibberlink, where it was the 2 booking AIs calling each other to make a hotel reservation. And they said that, they took a 20-minute conversation and they made it into 2 minutes because the AIs were speaking more efficiently. Like, I think those types of things are just going to continuously get improved within businesses, so that humans are just doing more creative work, more strategical work, more high-level work, and managing the AIs.
Yeah. Yeah, about this, I remember one case. So Daniel, he's head of engineering in Ralabs. So we had a meeting with Daniel and with a couple other people and with our clients in Lisbon, and we need just to find a good place for a dinner with clients. And we had some sort of requirements, how this place should look, how many people uh, it should be able to allocate there. And he was using ChatGPT. I forgot this kind of desktop version for the ChatGPT, which like Googling for you, do some actions for you. And this ChatGPT, like fully, he just like type one prompt with the requirements, and it found the perfect place. And it sent the message to the restaurant and tried to make a reservation. We still need to have this human in the loop because restaurant call him personally back, and just to confirm.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this is the first practical, probably case from my experience where we fully delegated this kind of like low level task to AI from the
Yep.
real life. So, yeah. Okay, I have a next, just I think two last questions about high level, about the. So I think maybe our talk is listening some people who are building AI products or like planning to build. Maybe they already have some products. So what would you tell founders who are excited about AI? I think lots of people right now excited about AI, but they don't want where to start, especially if people are not are not technical.
Yeah.
So
When people ask me this, I always go back to like the toughest, one of the more tough mistakes that engineers make is they make a really elegant, amazing solution to a problem that really didn't need to be solved. And so it's almost the advice, and I think we're all builders. I'm a builder. It's like you have to build less to start. MVP really needs to be minimum viable product, and you need to go talk with as many customers as you can. Call up 50 people that you think have the problem, ask them about it, ask them if what their solution to the problem would be, and then go build that thing. I think you gotta talk to your customers, you gotta talk to your target audience before you do a ton of building, because I think we're all guilty of it because it's so fun to build and to do these things. It's like if you're a builder, you might be vibe coding and you might build out and spend 3 weeks doing this thing, and then ta-da, it worked. Like this thing exists. Turns out nobody wants it, or that actually was that was too small of a problem. And so, go validate it, go talk to a bunch of customers, and you know what? You could probably build some cool AI automations that like constantly hit those customers in your wheelhouse, and drive the awareness that you need. Which then you're building your lead gen engine anyways. So I think the advice is always just talk to people, figure out their problem. That's how we started with Katara. Is we interviewed 50 constituents, and they all said they had the same problem.
Oh, so a lot of people, 50 people you interviewed.
Yeah, everybody has, everyone with a community has very similar challenges. No one knows what's going on. No one, can keep everybody up to date. You can't get through your queue. There's never enough people to do all the answering. And so like, that's why we chose to start that way.
Yeah, that's definitely a very smart approach, because especially I know that I am engineer, and the most of engineers, they are very excited about technical part, and all of the engineers, they have lots of ideas always.
Yep.
And it's very hard to stop your mind to generate ideas. And when you had some idea that you're really excited about, you just immediately opening some code editor and just drafting some of the simple like prototype of your application. But the correct approach is definitely what you're telling, like first sell, and after build.
See if people are actually willing to vote with their dollars and pay for the thing, even if it's $1. Just see if you can, like look at how companies launch products. They'll do a pre-order, or put $100 down, you get early access, whatever it might be. See if that would work. And then I really like this line from Mark Randolph, the co-founder of Netflix. He said, you got to collide your idea with the real world as quickly as possible, for as little cost as possible. And so, when they were trying to figure out how to start Netflix, like the first thing they did once they had the idea is they drove to the record store, they bought a CD, and they put the CD in the mail to see if the mail would actually reach a house. And I thought that was such an interesting way of starting the company. They didn't go build a website that said, hey, we're this great DVD rental platform. They went and just tried to see if it would work first. So I take those kinds of things away. It's like, how quickly can you get your idea into the real world for like as little cost as possible?
That's true. 100% true. So I have a last question, and if anyone from audience who listening to us, if you have any questions, just type on the chat, so we will be happy to answer. And my last question is, what advice would you give to founders who are building AI agents or AI generated platform? Because you have a huge experience already, and
I have a good amount of experience because I started in AI in 2012, right? And it was called AI, then it was called big data, then it was called machine learning, and now we call it AI again. Jensen, the CEO of NVIDIA, comes to mind. NVIDIA was started in 1993. He basically built graphics cards for 3 decades before, his company really became the rocket ship that it was today. And so, I think what that tells me is like, don't get shiny object syndrome. Stay focused. Like, focus on your lane. If you have conviction in what you're building or your solution or where AI is headed, like, it might take some time. I think 30 years to be a CEO with the little results, and then NVIDIA becomes this giant, mega behemoth, is a crazy story. And I know that's a little bit of an outlier, but I think OpenAI even has a similar story. It was like 8 years and they didn't really know what was going on or any revenue generating thing. And then they built an interface to show people what was under the hood, and it exploded. So, I think just stay focused, have conviction, don't get distracted. Just because your competitor launched some cool shiny object doesn't mean you need to go build that one thing right away. And so, I think it's focus is the key to the game.
Yeah, especially in AI world, where I think today we have one set of tools, and I believe that like tomorrow we will have, I don't know, maybe ChatGPT will release a new model, right? So every day is something new. So you can be distracted very, very easily.
Yep.
It's true. So I have one question from the audience so far. It's about Katara. So how did you? So you mentioned, I think question is about idea. How did you come up with this idea? You mentioned how did you validate this idea? So you had I think 50. You said 50 interviews, customer development interviews. So that's a huge amount of interviews. But how did you come up with this idea? Did you had like your own Slack community and you see this problem, or some friends?
So Matthew, my co-founder, who's the CEO of the company, came up with the concept of the company. Initially, his experience is a lot in Web3 and growing product for these communities for Polygon and Chainalysis and companies like that. And so he saw firsthand the struggles within Discord. And so I joined, and I got really, I guess I can talk about why I got excited about the idea. Is when we were doing customer service, we were the support chatbot there's a company here in the United States called Crate and Barrel. They're a huge retailer. We were doing their customer support, and it was just very obvious to me that technology could solve a lot of the customer service interactions really quickly, as good, if not better than a human. And they could do it 24 hours a day, and they wouldn't go off script, and they wouldn't make errors. And so I was like, oh, this is really exciting. And I just instantly saw the value that these agents could bring to support. And it didn't really matter the channel to me. It was like, a customer is a customer, and they have a question. It doesn't really matter how they're getting you that question, whether it's WhatsApp or Facebook Marketplace or wherever it's coming in, just answer it. And I think that's human nature. People want to feel seen, and they want to feel special, and they want to be answered quickly with something that's relevant for them, not be stuck in like customer service. To me, one of the worst things is knowing that you're talking to an AI agent that you know cannot solve your problem. That is like the worst, because you just know you have to like game the logic flow until you can get to a human. And so if we can alleviate more of that and more of that headache and the pain that these customers feel, like I'm really excited about that. And I think that, you know, it's a tremendous opportunity. And a tremendous size of a market. Like I think we looked at the size of the market, and it's just the amount of support tickets coming in, the amount of attention put on support and developer support is huge, and it's growing really quickly as well.
Yeah. Okay, and I have a second question from the audience. This is more question about the investors. So how do you see? Do you see that are investors mainly looking to fund like startups, companies that have AI features? I think AI on the title, you know, or investors still open to another products, you know, without AI, kind of old school products.
It's hard to give that general of an answer. So we've raised 2.6 million. We've raised money for our lead investor was a company called, our VC called Diagram. They're based here in Los Angeles. I'm here in Los Angeles. And I do think that a lot of VCs and a lot of funds are focused on AI. However, there's usually different funds. There's different people that hunt for different deals or focus on different things within the fund. So just having AI is not a make or break for you raising venture capital or raising investment funds. I do think a lot of investors find it sexy right now. Mm-hmm. It is a hot topic. I do think it is potentially an over-invested space as well. If you look at the amount of money going into AI products and the amount of value being created and the amount of value that would need to be created for these LPs to get the returns that they're expecting, like the numbers might not make sense, because a lot of these like tools are being heavily subsidized right now. To answer your question, like I think you just need to focus on who is the VC, have they invested in AI previously, have they invested in a competitive product to you? Because if they have, they probably won't add you to their portfolio, so you'd want to find a different fund that's similar. And if you can target those, do they invest in your stage, right? If you're asking this question, you probably want to be on like a seed stage or pre-seed or angel investment. And then when you're ready for it, it is the A round. And I think investors are still looking for, you know, the metrics, right? What's your ARR? What's your growth rate? I think those things become more important, whether or not you have like a specific, AI function. Because like the reality is almost every company is going to be forced to become an AI company eventually. It's just some are branded as AI tech software companies right now.
Correct. So if company doesn't have first sales made, if they don't have any first clients, it doesn't matter they have AI or they doesn't have AI. So on both cases, it might be not very interesting for the investors. But
that's at that stage, they're betting on the idea. Do they like the idea? They're betting on the team, right? Mm-hmm. Who is the group of people behind this, and do they have grit to follow it through? Are they tenacious? Are they smart? Are they hungry? I mean, those are all things that they're going to invest in. And then the third pillar is TAM. Like, is it a big enough market? Right? Yeah. Like, I think of cool ideas all the time, but it's like a, small market that, 1,000 customers would find value in, and that's not going to be big enough for a VC to fund or they'd want to fund. Doesn't mean it's not a good business. Doesn't mean you couldn't live a great life if you built that company.
Okay, yeah. So AI is important, but AI does not guarantee that the product will get any investments. And I just reminds one of my personal funny story. So it was, I think, maybe 5 years ago when I traveled to some of our clients, I think in New York, and we're just meeting new potential clients. And I think about 5-6 years ago, it was a trend of the blockchain. Blockchain after NFT. So maybe you remember this.
Yeah.
And I was speaking with the potential clients, and everyone was telling yes, we need some platform, but it should be definitely on the blockchain platform. It should have a blockchain feature. And at the same time, I realized that there is a different understanding what is the definition of the blockchain, and I
Yep.
started asking people. So it's okay. So we can build blockchain, but it's not proper to use blockchain everywhere, because blockchain is usually slow down your application, increase your infrastructure
Yep.
costs, whatever things. So I start asking, what is blockchain for you? How exactly you want to see blockchain? And I found that the most of the people, maybe like 9 from 10 people, they just need the word blockchain, and some of them need just kind of WordPress website. Some of them need just some JavaScript simple websites. But yeah, so that's I think that's the same. What I was speaking with a couple of people about AI. So I know you have in Katara, you have a like powerful AI engine, so you have a true AI. But a lot of companies, they are just connecting product with, let's say, OpenAI with ChatGPT,
Yep.
and they telling that they are super smart and whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, I think
AI is different.
to be honest, there's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong, and you're like, what the trouble with the example you just gave is like, you get to a point where that blockchain that's cool and sexy actually delivers a worse experience because the blockchain is just like a little bit better than it, or a little bit more secure than a normal database, but then it's slower and it doesn't have the same ability, and then you're all of a sudden back to like 1980 and you're like, actually an ASP database with some really good security is better than this slow blockchain, example. And so use the right tech for the best solution for your customer at the end of the day, which is why we're agnostic. We will
Mhm.
run our stuff through Mistral. We'll run it through OpenAI. We'll run it through Gemini. We'll like get the best result so
Mhm.
that it gives the best result for the customer.
Yeah.
And we've used Pinecone for vector database. We've used ChromaDB. Like, we'll use whatever works best so that it gives the best result, not because it's like fancy marketing or that jargon. It
Mhm.
sells better.
Yeah. So I think use the advice for audience. Use anything, whatever you can make profitable in your startup, right?
Yeah.
And I think investors doesn't care which specific technology they're using until it's profitable. Yeah. Okay, so we don't have any more questions. So we had only 2 questions. I think we had a great talk with you, James.
I really
Great
enjoyed it.
ideas. Yes, great ideas. So thank you for that. I think we are. Do you want to tell anything? Last words for
Yeah,
the
I think
people?
I think really loved being here. Thanks, Roman. Like, great to hang out, and hopefully we can do this again. My email's in the chat, James at KataraAI, if anyone has any questions. But would love. I think anyone with a Discord community should try out Katara. We were one of the best product launches last month on Product Hunt. We have a 5-star rating on Top GG for our Discord agent, and so try it out. Would love your feedback. If you have agentic workflows that you want and are struggling to implement, I'm also happy to do like consulting calls or audit calls with anyone to give you just our perspective on how you could use AI in your business. So yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, I agree. So anyone who relevant to Discord community or know the companies, I advise you to try Katara. That's definitely is very helpful platform for these
Amazing.
needs. Okay,
Thanks.
thank you, James. Thank you all for joining. Have a nice evening. So bye.
Bye.